Hi, I'm Jim,
And I'm Hisham, and this is,
the Quantumly Leaping podcast.
yes, and it's our 10th episode this season. Yeah, 10, two hands,
Two
right? It's
hands,
the,
two
the,
hands,
hot,
two hands.
the hot, two full hands, the Holy 10, right?
Yes,
I know. I
yes.
mean, do you remember when we were just started talking about that about a year and a half ago? Can you imagine that this is now our 10th?
It's exciting, and I've last episode I took the reins with to set it up, and I learned a lot about the work that goes into to get prepared for things. So I'll be doing more of that in the future, but today is number 10. And I just wanted to share a little bit of that. I'm getting emails, I'm getting phone calls, a lot of great feedback I'm getting from our listeners, and people are watching, that we're tackling some very important topics. We've covered, mental health, crypto. I just spoke to an ambassador of the cryptocurrency this week, and he watched it, and he was very impressed how we tackled that. Good to hear. We're still getting a few cool complaints. One of them is that we're too serious still. So we are trying to, have our opening here a little fun. But all I have to say is that we're going to cover a wide range of topics coming up here in the next few weeks. We have some topics. We're going to be covering health. We're going to be covering wealth. We're going to be covering online learning and teaching. So I'm going to be doing research on that. But again, quantum leaping is about going through these times here, and today's topic, I think, is going to be a serious topic, but excited just to get the feedback. So I'll throw it back to you, Hisham.
Yeah, and I too want to thank every loyal listener to us. They've been supporting us. They've been giving us a gigantic and enormous love and feedback for that matter, and they were giving us suggestions. So we're listening, and I wanted to tell them that we are going to tackle or we're going to talk about topics as well that they asked us for. Of course, it's all going to come in time, and but you know these topics need preparation, but we're listening. The topics you asked for are in the process. We're taking every suggestion seriously, but sometimes we need to prepare for it. And preparation process, as you said, is not an easy or a fun task, but this is it. It's what gets us here. It's what gets us to our loyal listeners, our loyal, our people. I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna
Yeah,
call.
I just got one more thing, Hisham. Actually just got accepted with a online podcasting group, podcaster movement group, and so I want to share that is because I really believe that we took some time to get this, but it wasn't that we're delaying starting this podcast. I just want to clarify, ladies and gentlemen. We were talking about it. We had gone to an event called PodCamp Toronto. I've been going for almost 9 years. Hisham joined me about 3 years ago. But this is number 10, and like I said, a lot of work involved. Hisham and I have speak quite a bit. Hisham's a very busy guy. I'm very busy here during the day, working on some cool projects. So we are making time. Sometimes late at night, 10, 11, 12, we're speaking about this. But I think it's important that we share this with the audience, that the preparation is worth it. A lot of things are happening, dynamic things are happening in our world right now. And so, kind of providence takes over some of our topics over the past 3 weeks. But in due time, we're going to be talking. Another topic that we're going to be talking about is diversity, with what's happening here in the world the last week or so. So, with that,
Yeah, and
we're going to get started here. So, I'll throw it back to you, Shem, so we can get started.
yeah, and I would just say specifically with the today's topic and the recent topics is that whatever we talk about and plan, there is something in the universe happens. It's like the universe is conspiring to support us, which is a very good thing. And with that, I'm gonna say that for the Holy 10th, which is our our 10th episode. We're gonna dive into a very important topic, and it's been like, I swear to God, we have planned this multiple weeks ago, but it just came in with what is happening here around, and it's about social media. The social media, and specifically the social media platforms' responsibility against the spread of misinformation. So, just so everybody uses mostly social media in a way or another, in a platform or another, and it's been there for many years. It's starting from I don't know, AOL Messenger or anything like that until now, what we see on Facebook or Instagram or all those bigger platforms. And like nobody knew how big of an impact these social platforms will make on the world that quick. Like it's almost like some of them have started less than 10 years ago and they're making a huge impact now. So let me just give, because social media is my topic. It was a part of it's actually my thesis that I have done. So social media is not something that is new to humans or use or trying to communicate like that. If we even get back to the Romans day, I mean, like you remember when Facebook was calling it wall, not a timeline, and they calling wall posts. This thing started with the Romans, where the Roman Empire was big, and because to keep this empire connected, they were bringing news from all around the empire, and they were reading it in whether in Rome itself or the colonies. And those messengers were holding a post from Rome to that colony and bringing a post with the news of that colony back to Rome. They were coming to a big place called the Forum. Of course, also the forums have been into online forums now, digital forums, and they bring it. There's a wall for them. They have like drawers specifically for every messenger, and they take the post from Rome and they put the post from or this is what I've read at least about, and they put that post from that colony, and then at twice a day or something, the town crier, one reader takes all those posts and reads it loudly for people of Rome, and it also happens in other colonies. So that is not, I mean, like wall posts, Facebook, that all did not start from now. And if we got back, the digital social media did not start as a news kind of thing. It started like for us to to be like friends or to connect with friends all around the world, or even to connect with the family members that traveled around the world. We lost contact. We didn't know what happened to them, and then suddenly, in Facebook, you say people you might know, and it's a family member that you have not seen in 10 years or 20 years, and you're connecting back and talking. But then it moves, which we're going to talk about instead. But the origin of the platforms, which is what, as I said, the wall posts in Rome, was to spread news, and now we're seeing that happening in social media. So we started as just a connection, sharing some news, jokes, connecting with people, and now here. But before that, and which I would say that maybe it led to the news coming in. There was social media for business, and I know that you have a very valid input about that, since you have done a lot of it, Jim, and you have actually wrote a book about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for the explanation. I've heard this explanation many times from Hisham, so it's great to share a little bit about it with our audience. So in 2008, I started writing articles for a blog. In 2011, I put everything together, and it was for a book called Get Connected in the 21st Century, Online and Offline Strategies That Work. And it worked on two things. Online and offline do intersect. And I'm getting a lot of calls, people interested in my book. So I'm working on republishing it here very shortly. So thanks for everybody who's interested in my book. And I'm going to get it out there here in the next few months. So just haven't forgotten. And thank you for that, everyone. So the predication is this, is that, I went out networking, shaking hands, offline, and then transpose into online. And now we're in COVID, and COVID has forced me to go online and offline. So online, and then the offline has been X'd, not there. But what I've realized, I got hired by a big email marketing company in 2012. And why I'm mentioning this is I had a chance to travel all across Ontario and into the United States. And I spoke on email marketing, but I also spoke on social media and strategies. And I'm actually still an authorized individual with this company. Now, why I say this is that in Canada, they passed a law called the Castle Law. And this Castle Law was meant to sort of bring a heavier presence into spam and all that. Unfortunately, the law was passed, but didn't have enough teeth. I don't know what's to explain it. And with the company I worked for, we brought lawyers in, we did webinars, and it just got worse. And then GDPR got passed about a year ago. If you correct me, Hisham, was it a year ago?
It was actually it. I think it started in 2016, and it took
2016.
place on 2018. So
okay, stand corrected. 2 years ago. Same thing with GDPR. I got emails from email lists I didn't even know I belonged to. Now, fast forward to 2020, and when Hisham brings me these topics, I want to be very honest and authentic. And so what I do is I ask Hisham, send me some information. So he sent me this video. What was the guy's name again, Hisham?
Hassan Minaj.
Hisham Minaj. Now, we don't like specific talk about people, but this video I watched is about 18 minutes long. And why I'm just going to show this is I needed a broad space understanding of this, even though on that. And actually, I still read the paper, ladies and gentlemen, and I actually got an article here from my local paper regarding misinformation on Facebook here. So I did a little research, and what I realized watching this gentleman's video, and we'll post it at the end there, is this is nothing new. This didn't start yesterday. This has started way long ago. And the thing is now social media is not just becoming a place like Twitter to complain. And just recently, Twitter has been politicized, even Facebook, by we'll call him a leader in the United States who didn't like what Twitter was doing, and Twitter took steps to bring to light that they do have rules, and a whole communication buildup started. So all I can say is that this has now become a much bigger and bolder surface where things come up. In Toronto today, there was a protest here today regarding an unfortunate situation that occurred here in Toronto. So we're living
social media, right?
by social media, and I actually called Hisham and I told him, listen, I'm in trouble again. And he goes, Jim, you seem to be always in trouble, every week. So maybe that's a topic for another show. Maybe why is Jim in the middle of trouble all the time? So it seems that not that I'm looking for trouble, ladies and gentlemen. Innocuously, I seem to get myself involved in situations that shouldn't. And Hisham is getting a little perturbed by my involvement in things. So I took a few pictures and I jetted out of there because we had to do this today. We usually do about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. So I just want to say to you that we're not offering here going to solutions, but the reason why I feel that this topic is important is to showcase the broad aspect. One of the favorite things I don't like to talk about is the rabbit hole. We don't want to go down the rabbit hole today. I think Hisham said it here before we started is we're just dangling our feet in the rabbit hole. So I don't like taking up people's words, but I think he's right. We're dangling our feet in the rabbit hole. We don't want to go down it because that's not what the show's about. So I just want to give people a little bit of a broad spec of what we're going to do. We're going to talk about a few things. We're not here to point people out. That's not what the show's about. And I just wanted to just give people that context of what we're doing here. So I'll throw it back to you, Hisham.
Yeah, and as you said, like it's like for you, it started for you to market your business and
Yeah.
to start doing that. But now it's considered as a media source because mainstream media are also businesses, and they at some point they realize that this is the new thing, that we should be there and they become there. Like I for example, every day I watch the prime minister's talk, the daily update on YouTube because I don't have a TV at home, and even if I had, while I'm working in the morning, I don't want to watch TV. And sorry, it's easier to open that YouTube live and listen to him while I'm working. So it became so mainstream media came in on later because as a part of business, but that which is our next topic is that what infuriated or pushed other news media that we might call, I don't know, illegitimate or not trusted or whatever you want to say, because some of them are really illegitimate, and social media try to close them. Some of them are like licensed and so, but they're not trusted. They keep on, creating a lot of misinformation and a lot like people like Alex Jones, for example, who was putting all the conspiracy theories until they closed that like a year ago or something. He was banned from every major social media stream online. And you watch those videos, and I mean, I know we didn't want to name him, but this some of those things are so big that you cannot mention them. That when he have an episode that's saying that the government is putting something in the water to make frogs gay, like like that is way beyond
Yeah.
just normal misinformation or a joke that you. And he was serious about it. Like he was angry and putting. I'm like, so and he's just an example. I'm not mentioning him that he's the only one. That's this is just an example because his story came out along and no everybody started to know who he is and all these things. But that that right. But I believe that when people saw that mainstream that I could have the same access that main media streams can have, don't and I'm not gonna have to pay. Actually, they were making money from so because they were monetizing their content and making a lot of money through advertising. So they came in, and that opened the doors for them. People like I don't know the movements like white supremacists, climate change deniers, flat earthers, and it's not just become that some people are talking like before and no one listens to. They become expanding. They become some people who were skeptic or even who did not believe anything. They started see that and they started even like becoming skeptic or joining those movements. That thing never happened before, you know. And the fact that it's spreading and it's still spreading, although they are some of them are closing and they're moving from a platform to another, and some of them are even moved to blockchain, which is nearly impossible to shut down or to track because it's a decentralized network. So this is really concerning and scary. And I remember the also the incident that you told me last year about the climate change, and that you've heard about it. I was working that day. I couldn't, but you heard about it also on social media, and you wanted to go, and then suddenly it became like kind of like. It was not like really violent, but it became not what it is. Remember that? And it was also infuriated by social media.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, Leslie. I'll be honest. I have only participated in two movements in my whole life. Well, actually, three movements. One was a bike movement about 4 years ago to put bike lanes here where I live on Bloor Street, and I cycled from Hyde Park, which is about 40 minutes away from where I live. And it was a weird thing. I was right at the front of the line because I'm a big cyclist. Deal with it. I am. And this climate thing came up, and I belonged to a co-working space at the time, where I worked at for 7 months. And I went to this climate change, and it was peaceful actually. It was a lot of signs, but I felt weird. I actually felt a little claustrophobic because I've grown a little older, and I don't know, my personal space gets, I call it, violated. But it was weird. And just today, there was another movement. I didn't participate in it. I didn't really observed and I took some pictures. And at the end of the day, indirectly I was involved in this movement, and I understand why they're doing it. But all I have to say about this particular topic is I think that, listen, we all have our beliefs, and I understand that. It's like I read the Bible, okay? I read the Greek Orthodox Study Bible, as you know. It was a gift from my aunt. I've read it 3 times, cover to cover. And I don't tell people that I do it, but sometimes I have a few friends who are very, very into that. And it's interesting that, the Greek Orthodox Study Bible looks at the Bible a little differently. And I have a lot of friends who are Catholic, and they have a different. And I actually read the different Bibles. And we have some interesting discussion sometimes, and they're like pretty impressed on the discussion and the argument that I put up. Call it whatever you want, because I'm informed. Now, Shisham just mentioned a bunch here. We're talking religious beliefs, nationalism, white supremacy, flat. That's fine. Our world has 7 billion people on it. We all have our beliefs, but I'm allowed to go there to do my movement. And I think social media sometimes has, I don't know, maybe not done enough to do this. And just this week, Twitter started putting this little bar over a big political leader's tweets. We're going to leave it at that. And person got angrier and wrote an executive order. Now, all I'm saying is, these social platforms, they have to take the ownership. And I have an article here from called "Unfriending Facebook from Misinformation." Okay, I cut it out. It's from the Toronto Star, and the gentleman has an argument about advertising and all that. So this is real. This has been talked about, but I don't think enough has been done. And when Hashem and I were talking about this podcast, specifically this one, I have to admit to you, ladies and gentlemen, I was a little uneasy because I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. I wanted to stay at the top and really think. And maybe some people would even get upset of us talking about Alex Jones and me not saying who I'm talking about. That's okay. But the more about this story, about this podcast is we talked about mental health. We've talked about cybersecurity, blockchain. We've talked about some heavy topics because I think they need to be talked about. So that's all I need to say about it. And I'll throw it back to you, Hisham.
Yeah, and again, as you said, uh, we weren't talking about that if it was just talk. Everyone is allowed to talk, and the reason I
Yeah.
brought Alex Jones, for example, is not that he's talk. I don't care what he talks about, and I didn't care. But when it happened, is that the point is what's been talked on social media is now coming onto the ground. So
Yeah.
those white supremacists have done a lot of events and have done a lot of riots in the United States because
Mm-hmm.
they started to become on the ground. And the reason I brought Alex Jones is that he was the one that infuriates the Pizzagate thing. When we talk about Hillary, by the way, I'm not a very fond of Hillary Clinton as well, but the thing that I would create a rumor that she has some pedophile business in a pizza joint somewhere around, that doesn't, and it caused someone to go there and shoot at that place, and there was nothing actually. So my point is not just about Alex Jones or whoever comes to talk. You can talk whatever you want. Take but that is not what is happening. They are infuriating people. They are pushing them to go on ground and do something. Somebody could have been killed that day, and the whole thing was just a hoax, just a rumor, right? And this is my point of like we should be careful of what we mention. So even if you heard about Pizzagate, just make sure you can just go visit or call someone who lives in there and say like, go visit. Can you just make sure about it or just check about it if you are really. You don't just hold a gun, a rifle, and start shooting people just because you heard someone on social media saying some crap about it. This is the danger of
Yeah.
just of talking, because it's not just talk. I mean, like, freedom of speech is something, But freedom of speech has this word. Word is freedom. The core of freedom of speech is freedom, and freedom comes with responsibility. You want to talk freely, you have to take responsibility for what you talk about. So when you talk like this and you don't have enough information, you're just spreading that, and someone goes and kills somebody, it's a shared responsibility between him and you, because you have somehow infuriated that person to go and do something based on absolutely nothing, like absolutely nothing, which also now takes me to our next topic, which is spreading the misinformation in politics, and how that affects politics. We hear and see a lot of bad actors, let's call them like that, and rogue states. Also, let's stop at that, trying to infiltrate others' countries' elections for their own. That is not happening now, and it did not start with social media. It's just now becoming easier and cheaper through social media. And you know that there are a lot of countries try to play with other countries, like elections or something. And I don't want to talk about other countries, but what I know for sure is like a company like Cambridge Analytica have started a company here in Canada called AIQ, which collected illegal money from Leave UK or something other Brexiters, and funneled it through AIQ here in Canada to make that to target people in Britain to support Brexit. Now, did that affect, really, did that change people? It's not the point. I don't know. Nobody can know, because it's very difficult to see, does this information that I get through social media changed my mind or not. But it was an illegal act. They funneled illegal money to AIQ, and AIQ has done this also knowingly, that this is illegal. You cannot have that amount of money, and they have interfered. Whether it affected it or not, that is not the point. But they are using those social media to do that. And at that time, no one noticed, no one gave a damn, and it went. And now you see politicians are actually, seeing what's happening on social media and changing the stream, even sometimes for what they believed for a long time, or what their principles, because they're afraid that their supporters are, are not happy with something or whatever, and they're not worried anymore about doing the right thing, but no, they're worried about doing what their supporters want and keep themselves in that place. Moreover, it's the racial biases, like the genocide in Myanmar. That was infuriating. The military in Myanmar was using social media to check out, and they're a military. You cannot use social media. You have other resources, but they were using social media and that was infuriating for them. And that caused a total real genocide. A real genocide. People by hundreds of thousands were killed, and millions were displaced because of that. And I still remember when we were talking about, and I think we said in a previous episode, but we're going to talk about it more in details right now, is that what is to share and what is not. Because you once were, remember when I told you about this app to say the queues on the shops during the pandemic, and you told me, how did they know that? And I told you they collect the information from phones, and even that mostly was actually like anonymized, but it was still scary to you, because we don't know what is happening. And you told me that I should know that my data was collected, and I told you that's is actually hidden in the SLA agreement, or the thing that you sign with them, and they always send changes to privacy agreement, and people say okay without reading. Remember that story?
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, that was freaked me out. So, I'm gonna take a few minutes and tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. So, uh, I many years ago, in when I started writing articles, I wrote an article that was supposed to appear in a magazine, and it was about social responsibility. This was back in 2008. And I wrote the article. I quoted two big leaders in the article, and the article was rejected by the magazine. And I was disappointed. I felt that the article was good. It thing. So I posted it online. A mentor of mine said, Jim, he read it. He didn't think wrong with it. It is the most only and one controversial article I've ever written in my life. Now social responsibility has become a mainstay for organizations. A couple other things. In the past few years, uh, since Hisham and I have collaborated, I have either watched a film called The Trust Machine. It's not widely available yet, but it's a movie about the history of crypto and Bitcoin. And in this film, there's a gentleman, I'm not going to mention his name, who was arrested, thrown in jail for doing. I didn't think anything was illegal, but it is what it is. Hisham and I have interviewed a woman whose son is in jail right now. A futurist event last year. We talked about it on a previous episode. I have read books on Mr. Snowden. Watched watched movies, read books about this gentleman. I have a few friends who are deep into politics. I don't speak to them that often. It's out there. And I think that at the end of the day, things have happened in the world that had disturbing to me, that are far away from me, not even close to me, that infuriate me. And I'm not one to go on social media and do that, because that something that happened last week, a minor thing happened here a couple of weeks ago in my neighborhood, at Trinity Bellwoods Park, where a bunch of people got together on a weekend and sat down and enjoyed themselves. We're in the middle of a COVID situation. I went on Facebook and ranted on Facebook. I don't do rants on Facebook. I did it. And a bunch of people commented. And I was nervous because I don't like ranting. It's not my style. People say, even on Facebook, you never rant, you never gonna rant. I have a right to do so. It's my right, because I was upset. I just went today and took pictures of the circle, and I'm going to do another rant in a few days. I'm telling you all this, ladies and gentlemen, because we are allowed. Things are happening in this world that I am disgusted about, but I don't go on Twitter and I don't do that stuff. But I pick my times to do it. Today, and this last 48 hours, America is on fire, literally. They're protesting here in Toronto. The world is not a great place. Try and find something positive to read or to listen to is very difficult. I went on a 2-hour bike ride this morning because I just needed to disconnect, and I took some great pictures of the Toronto landscape. This will not go away. The social platforms have to take more responsibility. That's my right to say that. Some may say they are. Some say they aren't. The 2016 election, stuff was going on. Whether people are going to get angry at me saying this, stuff's going on. I watched TV shows. I read articles. I actually wanted to get a book on it, but someone took the book from the book and take a book thing on Hillary. I want to read it, but someone beat me to the punch. So all I'm going to say is that this stuff is real. And I think that maybe I'm getting older and I'm getting my nerves, or my Incredible Hulk nerves are getting a little pinged. But I think we have the right. But, racial bias is real and it's disturbing. And that's why we're going to do a show in the future about diversity. And I was a diversity member with a logistics company for 4 years. So I like to talk about that. I have friends of all diversities. And I've interviewed people. I've done events of all diversities. That's who Toronto is, and that's who I am. So it is what it is. So I just want to kind of just air it out a little bit, without stepping on toes. And I hope everybody understands where I'm coming from. So with that, I'll throw it back to you, Isham, because we going overboard here a
Yeah,
little bit. Sorry.
I don't think we're going overboard because again, you mentioned like 2016 election, and again, we don't know that if that affected them or not. But if you
Right.
read the book, that you remember that the one that we saw, Targeted, the one that I got.
I haven't read it, but maybe I should. Maybe I should read it next. Maybe Isham. There you go. Another
Yeah,
book
but
report.
you know about the book, yeah. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
book was written by someone who was working in
Yeah.
in Cambridge Analytica, and she said that we have done that. So there is no doubt that Cambridge Analytica has done that. It's actually the full name is Targeted, the Cambridge Analytica Whistleblowers in Inside Story or something like that.
And the cover to this and the cover for this book is a hand grenade with the word target on it with a keyboard around it. I'm into book covers. I have issues with book covers. Some are too good, but just the cover of this book is
This
unbelievable.
is
So
this is scary good. you
yeah,
know?
it's scary good. I just read a book called "Losing the Signal," the story of BlackBerry, and it's a picture of a BlackBerry, but with two eyes and ears and all
Yeah,
that,
it's like
and
like a skull. It was like a
like a
skull.
skull. It was crazy. And there's another book we always refer to, and I just got a copy of it. Oh, where is it? I can't show it to you. Called "The Weapon of Math Destruction." Another amazing cover and a whole other discussion
Yeah,
there. But
and those people have worked into these things. So what they're telling is not just theories. They worked on these things, like
yeah,
in AI and in all of these tools, and they tell you what they've worked on. It's
yeah,
not fiction, and it's not somebody. They're telling you what is happening. So these are sources, and these are facts. We're not. This is not our own opinion. This is what we know from the horse's mouth, right? So
yeah.
that also leads me to our fourth and final topic today, which is going to be like a little tough to talk about. It's like, um, okay, so finally, after the genocide, specifically in Myanmar, and the UN, by the way, there's another proof. The UN admitted that those Facebook posts on the groups were part of the infuriating and pushing for Myanmar's genocide. So that's a UN, that's a UN speaker who's done that, and the video is on YouTube. So, but here's the thing, like now social media platforms are trying to be responsible. Although, just for people to know, because they are American companies, and they follow the American law, they are until now they are categorized as platforms or providers, not publishers. Like if you go on CNN or MSNBC or whatever and you spread some misinformation, somebody could sue you easily or sue this station easily and get sometimes millions of money. It happened in the United States many times when someone talks bad about someone, it's not true. But because they are classified as publishers, so and as you said, well, maybe the publisher who you talked about for your article didn't want to publish it because they were afraid that because they are bearing by law bearing responsibility, but those platforms cannot bear responsibility. They can move or keep content as they see fit, which is also dangerous. And after all of this, the world is going out. Now, the law didn't change in the United States, but because there was an outcry specifically after Myanmar and a lot of other things, so they're now trying to moderate the content, let's say. So they're trying not removing in most of the times, like if there are something like sometimes they remove, as we said, Alex Jones was totally banned from everywhere. But in other cases, they moderate, and if there's something that is not really accurate, they put that note. It didn't start, by the way, newly. It started a while ago, but they were testing it on specific, and now they're spreading it
Mm-hmm.
out. And
Mm-hmm.
now politicians who actually were asking platforms like YouTube and Facebook to fact check and to not suppress the free speech because they were fact checking on their supporters. Now when they're fact checking on them, they're angry and they say that we're gonna go take them to court, we're gonna sue them, We're gonna shut them down. I mean, like this. I mean, like if I was one of those social media providers, I would tell them right now, what exactly do you want me to do? Shall I fact check, like your request a couple of weeks ago, or shall I not fact check because you're angry that I'm fact checking you right now? You know, and this is like this is becoming like very, I don't know, like again I am still saying that they should get responsibility, but the mixed messages that they're getting, and they're being threatened. After all, they're being threatened by shutdown. After all, we're talking about those social media and we're hosting our content on them, right? And they cannot
Yeah.
move it because because we have the freedom and we can talk about that. And
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
not, we're not what he said, that we're not criminalizing them or anything. But
Yeah.
someone just fact checks on them. I mean, like, come on. And I know
Yeah.
that you have a lot of input about on that.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to share a story. I'm going to share, you know what? I'm going to share a funny story because people keep saying we're too serious. So it's about fact checking. So many years ago, 9 years ago, I had a sports car. It was a Honda Civic SIR. I got a speeding ticket for speeding. Um, the officer wrote a ticket, and I took it, and I forgot about it. Yes, I did, John. Yes, I did. 4 years later, I get a call from a collections agency saying, "Hey, you owe this much money." I'm like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Began to research. Well, this ticket you got. I went back to open the case, and I'm not a lawyer. Okay, I have a few friends who are private investigators at that time, lawyers, and I reopened the case. So this was a ticket, old school, written by hand. Well, um, I was told, put the ticket in a white baggie and bring it in. So I brought it in to the justice of the peace to do that. And he looked at it and he goes, "Well, you better check your facts because I think you really have a case." Well, it turns out that the facts were this: is that there was numerous mistakes on the ticket. My address was written wrong. Um, the driver's license wasn't filled out correctly. There was numerous things wrong with this ticket. The justice of the peace couldn't believe that this ticket actually got this far and nobody noticed the mistakes because this ticket went through so many different hands before it got to me because it was done old school, written out, not by computer. So I took it into a local individual who fights tickets. And he knew what he said to me. He said to me, "Wow, thanks for doing all the work for me, Jim. You did all the facts. This case will be case closed in literally maybe less than 10 minutes." I go back a few weeks later. He got all the demerit points thrown out and I paid a small fine. And I remember him saying, "Thanks for doing all the heavy lifting for me and checking all the facts." Now, why I tell you this is that I did. I checked the facts. I did this. And I know it's a small case, but here goes where these platforms are now vehicles that are sharing information, lots of information. And Hisham and I talked about AI, and I've read some books, and I've got some in about machine learning. So Twitter this week put a little note on one of its users who happened to be a big political figure. And he went back and he wrote an executive order in Facebook. So this whole now has started a whole discussion just on this. And let me tell you, I'm going to predict books are going to be written about this, like on fact checking. And I know we've got a little over on this topic, but at the end of the day, it's important that we understand that there has to be facts because that's what reality is. That's when we go to court here. And there's many cases now in deliberation in the United States. A gentleman was shot 4 weeks ago, and the facts are being evaluated. But now a third person has been charged for murder who was holding the camera, who made no effect apparently to stop this. Now those are facts, and now we live in a time here the last 4 days where America's on fire. There's protests all over the United States. Who knows what's written online on these platforms? This has got out of control. And now it become real for me where I'm taking pictures of a protest that I agree and disagree, but that's the world we live in. This is 2020, and we're dealing with things that have been going on for years, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, we're trying to just dangle our feet in this rabbit hole, and we're not calling out people here. We're not. We're just simply saying these are the facts that we've researched on, and we feel that with that. And are we stepping any toes? I hope we're not. And if we are, maybe that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, there has to take some ownership and some responsibility in here. And that's why Quantum Leaping is a podcast that's, a little heavy at times because we deal with heavy topics. And we will be dealing with some lighter topics in the future months to come. I guarantee you will. We're going to hear some topics that are personal to me. So with that, I probably got a little long here, Sham, but I'll throw it to you with the last word because I am done.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said, because you said that when you were talking about your own personal
Mhm.
issue with that ticket, is that fact checking is not a fun task. And a lot of
Yeah,
people who get those news, they don't want to go and, oh, did I check, like Pizzagate? They don't care about, they just believe it because it's somewhere on the
yeah,
internet. They don't want to fact check. That was
yeah,
what I still remember the time when we were fact checking, even on media sources. We're already fact checking, but we did not believe everything. But nowadays, people are listening and they do not fact check. And also, if people are cannot do that, can you imagine on social platform the fact checking process on, so like 2017, YouTube said that there are like 400 hours of videos uploaded to YouTube. That's 2017. 400 hours of video every hour in a day and a half. That time, that's a century of content. In day and a half, a century of content. That is 2017, only one platform, and it's YouTube. Can you imagine fact checking or even checking if this content is proper or not on a platform like that? And take that on other platforms who are now, like a lot, getting trillions of content daily. So I think there's also partially responsibility on us to do that fact checking. Just like you said, your lawyer was happy because you've done your fact checking, and it was easy for
I
him.
did.
Maybe if you didn't, he will be a little bit, because he had other cases who are much
Yeah,
important and bring him a lot of money, and he didn't do a lot, and you might lost it, or it became worse than it should be. But because you've done your fact checking and you bring it on, that whole thing ended up much better than it could be, right? Because you've done, as a citizen, you've done your own fact checking, right? And with that, I want to just summarize and do the close up with this, that saying that, just a few facts: 60% of adults in the United States actually take their news, or rely on social media for their news, as a news source. Now, I'm not saying that that's fake news. It's Facebook have sites like CNN and CNBC and CBC and whatever, but they don't go, or they don't watch TV for that. They see it on social media, and that might include a lot of those sites or illegitimate sources who might have a lot of crap on them. Like, there are things that I don't want to mention, but they're really disturbing stuff on social media, and that's for people and for their families. And here in Canada, for example, um, they say that, I think that 30% or 30 sorry 52% of Canadians get their news from social media. But the difference is, here in Canada, most of them do not take it as a trusted source. So they might hear it or see it on social media or seek what's happening, but they don't take it for granted. Unlike a lot of people in the United States, and a lot of people around the world, and we mentioned Myanmar. I here now just want to share a lot story at the end. Like many years ago, I was working in Qatar and I met this girl from Myanmar, which was named Burma, by the way, if people don't know that. And she was a cashier, and Jim knows me that I always like to 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 start conversation with strangers, specifically those frontline workers, because I feel that they're doing a lot of job and they're not appreciated. So when she told me Myanmar, I was like, where is that? She told me it's formerly Burma, and I realized that. Okay. And she said, like, told her, how do you find Qatar? Of course, Qatar in a place in the Middle East, and it's a Muslim majority country. So she said, I actually found it much better than I expected. I mean, I didn't hear about Myanmar unless in the history books when we read that it was Burma and it was in the British colony, but we didn't know. And of course, she said, before coming here, she by the way is educated, but she couldn't find a great job. And I was like, coming here, it's what she said. It's one of the best things that she's done. And you were educated, and you came here for a cashier. And she said it's not just about the job because I couldn't find a job there. But she said before coming to Qatar, she had a very bad idea about Muslims because what she hears in the media there. But when she came to a Muslim majority country and she said, I've dealt with them, I found that there are people like us. They have the good, they have the bad. Most of them are good, like everybody in the world. And some are bad, but it's not the idea that she took about them. And this is what struck me. Like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you hear or what you see on social media. When you meet people, when you talk to them, you realize the truth. So this is what I wanted to end up with is like, no matter what you see on social media or whatever, just keep a healthy dose of skepticism. Try to do some fact checking. Connect with people. Connect with other people. If you hear that, okay, like right now, everybody is putting blame on Chinese people because of the coronavirus. I know a lot of Chinese people here, and they're my friends, and they're very nice people. Why should you blame them for what is going on? Some of them were actually born here. They're totally Canadian. They're just in their ancestry they're Chinese, and that's what I wanted to say. And it's like, don't listen. And a lot of people are infuriating against Chinese people because of social media again, but just do that effort, fact check, communicate with people, you know. And I think we as humans are meant to communicate in person, not just digitally. And I'm gonna leave like a last word for you, Jim.
No, it's great. I appreciate everyone watching or listening to the show. As I said, this is a very heavy topic, but I think we've done a great job in just explaining a little bit about it, peeling the onion a little bit, just dangling our feet in the rabbit hole, but not going down. So, thank you everybody for listening. This is Jim.
Yeah, and this is Hisham, and we'll meet you again in our next episode with I'll say a lighter topic. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna be heavy, but a little bit lighter topic.
Yes, so the next 3 episodes are going to be lighter. I tell you that. Take care,
Uh,
everyone.
we
Bye
cannot
bye.
promise, but we'll try. So
Bye bye.
bye bye, and see you in the next episode.